Like I was just cause I just got back from arraignment, and I'm like, all I heard was murder, and I'm just like,
damn,
like that was that.
Before the headlines, before the snitch jokes, and before the internet turned him into a meme, 6ix9ine had to face one thing alone: jail. No security, no special treatment, no music. In this clip, he breaks down what his first nights behind bars were really like, and why it changed how he saw everything. The arrest and initial placement. On November 18, 2018, federal agents arrested Daniel Hernandez alongside several members of the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods, including his former manager Cafano Shoddy Jordan. The charges included racketeering conspiracy, firearms offenses, drug distribution, and conspiracy to commit murder, stemming from activities like a shooting at Barclays Center, an armed robbery near Times Square, and ordering hits on rivals. Prosecutors alleged Hernandez used the gang for protection while funding their operations, facing a potential life sentence with a minimum of 47 years. The arrest came at 6 o'clock that evening. The timing was not coincidental. FBI wiretaps had revealed gang members plotting to super violate him after he publicly fired his crew on Instagram. This was gang slang for severe revenge, possibly murder. Former allies had turned hostile, and federal authorities knew his life was in danger. At his arraignment on November 19, 2018, bail was denied despite offers of over $1 million in his passport. Evidence was drawn partly from his own social media posts glorifying violence. Hernandez pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer, Lance Lazaro, argued the charges were an overcharge based on hearsay, insisting Hernandez was not a true gang member but used the image for music sales. Then came the placement that shocked everyone. Hernandez was initially housed in general population at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a federal facility notorious for its brutality. The U.S. Justice Department has described it as housing extremely dangerous, violent, or escape-prone inmates with ongoing issues like overcrowding, understaffing, mold, and frequent violence. This placement was surprising given that federal authorities had taken him into protective custody just before the arrest, citing life threats. Lazaro questioned the decision, noting it contradicted pre-arrest protections and exposed Hernandez to undue risk due to his celebrity status and gang ties. The facility's environment made those first days overwhelming. Inmates faced 24-hour lockdowns, poor maintenance, and constant noise. Experts like prison consultant Sam Mangle have called MDC incredibly dangerous, with judges sometimes refusing to send defendants there. Reports indicate Hernandez faced immediate tensions, including altercations with fellow prisoners such as members of the Crips gang, a rival to the Bloods. The threats were not theoretical. They were real, immediate, and potentially deadly. But what Hernandez experienced that first night was different from what many expected. Years later, he would describe it in an interview.
I got locked up at 6 o'clock, right? I got locked up at 6 o'clock that night. I watched the movie on like a Fed phone. Like they gave me like an iPad or whatever, and they said just lay on the rug like and watch a movie. I watched Lone Survivor.
The contrast between the perception of his first night and the reality was stark. While the media reported on death threats and dangerous placements, Hernandez was watching a war movie on an iPad. This moment of dark humor revealed something about how Hernandez processed his situation. He was not paralyzed by fear. He was calculating his next move. The following day brought him back to reality. At arraignment, he heard the charges read aloud.
Last night, I was just like, I'm trying to think about how that night went. No, that night, I was like, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not, because I just got back from arraignment, and I'm like, all I heard was murder, and I'm just like, damn, like that was that.
The weight of the charges hit him. Murder, conspiracy to murder, racketeering, firearms. These were not minor offenses. These were charges that could bury him for life. But Hernandez's mindset shifted quickly.
It was just like, after that, it was just like, all right, get through this.
His lawyer emphasized that 6ix9ine did not request protective custody himself, focusing instead on family safety amid the chaos. This was a crucial detail. Hernandez was not begging for protection. He was not cowering. His concern was for his family, not himself. The threats predated his incarceration, rooted in his decision to distance from 9 Trey. In October 2018, after a plea violation hearing where he avoided jail, a celebratory dinner erupted into a gun battle between Shoddy's crew and his label's security. FBI wiretaps wiretaps captured discussions among gang leaders like Mel Murda and Shoddy authorizing hits, with phrases like, "He don't got nothing to lose no more." Hernandez declined FBI protection offers, but the risks prompted his arrest for safety. Inside jail, his snitch potential heightened dangers from gang-affiliated inmates. Associates like Trife Drew and Wizard expressed fear after his crew firing, locking themselves away. These threats underscored the intensity of his early custody. Yet when asked about his experience inside, Hernandez painted a different picture.
No, they were all like older, like 60, 50.
So
no, I was in a jail full of rats. Everybody was snitches. Like the jail I was in, everybody snitched. I was like a rat jail.
This revelation changed the narrative. The dangerous general population placement was not what it seemed. The unit was filled with cooperators, informants, older inmates. The threat level was different from what the media portrayed. Protective custody. Shortly after arrival, on November 26, 2018, Hernandez was transferred from MDC's general population to a private facility in Queens for safety, following bail denial and reports of prisoner altercations. This move was not at his request, but federal officials deemed it necessary. The environment Hernandez described was radically different from the hell people imagined. He spent hours on the phone, not fighting for his life, not watching his back, just talking to his girlfriend, trying to maintain some normalcy in an abnormal situation. The physical setup of protective custody was also...
To be honest, I thought like it was gonna be a shower, and everybody showered, but when I first got to jail, I was in
rat jail.
I was in a rat jail, but it was protective custody jail, like protective custody unit. Like it was on like older guys in my pod, and then like the jails were like covered off, like it was privacy.
Individual showers, privacy, older inmates who were also cooperating with authorities. This was not the MDC that housed R. Kelly and Ghislaine Maxwell in harsh conditions. This was a segregated unit designed to keep high-risk cooperators alive. Hernandez even had access to commissary, a privilege that allowed him some comfort.
Like you buy your own soap from commissary. And it's like you set your pin, it's like a machine.
Right.
And then I would just call my business manager and I'm like, yo,
wire $100 grand.
No, it was like $100 every day because I didn't trust.
He deposited money in small amounts daily, maintaining control over his resources in an environment where trust was scarce. The food was another surprise.
Do they even have like mofongo and all that?
No, they have like it's pretty good though.
Burritos,
like seasoned food. Like
bro, this. Yo, how do I get locked up?
The interviewer's reaction captured the absurdity. The facility Hernandez described sounded almost comfortable compared to the horror stories typically associated with federal detention. But this comfort came with context. Hernandez was clear about why his experience was different. He was a cooperator. The federal system had an interest in keeping him alive, healthy, and willing to testify. The conditions he experienced were not standard. They were the result of his cooperation deal. The contrast between his unit and other parts of the MDC was significant. When the conversation turned to Jeffrey Epstein, Hernandez was quick to distinguish between facilities. The Manhattan Correctional Center where Epstein died was the federal equivalent of Rikers Island, dangerous, overcrowded, poorly maintained. Hernandez understood the difference between that facility and the protective unit where he was housed. Hernandez's ability to analyze the prison system while inside it showed his awareness. He knew where he was. He knew why he was there. And he knew it could have been much worse. His time in protective custody was relatively uneventful. No major incidents, no attacks, no confrontations. He served time without the violence that many expected, completing community service and paying over $236,000 in restitution. In later interviews, he would reflect on this period with a consistent message. Post-2019 release, which came early due to cooperation and COVID-19 risks from asthma, Hernandez shared his perspective with outlets like Vlad TV and Billboard. He downplayed the 2018 intensity, stating no confrontations occurred despite his snitch status. In a 2020 Billboard interview, he discussed increased fearlessness post-jail, viewing it as a life lesson. He critiqued rap's hypocrisy on snitching, citing artists like 21 Savage, Gunna, and T.I. for similar behaviors ignored for convenience. The protective custody environment was a strategic choice by federal authorities. They needed Hernandez alive to testify against the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods. The trial would eventually lead to convictions of multiple gang members, including his former manager, Shoddy. Hernandez's testimony was crucial, and his safety was paramount. But beyond the strategic considerations, the environment revealed something about the federal system's approach to high-profile cooperators. They were isolated, protected, and given enough comfort to remain cooperative. The horror stories of general population did not apply to them. The mindset of survival. What separated Hernandez's experience from pure victimhood was his mindset. Throughout his incarceration and in subsequent interviews, he consistently presented himself as someone guided by faith rather than fear. In post-release interviews, Hernandez portrayed his experience with defiance and optimism. He claims no confrontations despite his snitch label, crediting a calm, faith-driven approach. When you walk with the Almighty, you walk confidently, no fear, he told interviewers, framing his prison time as a test of faith rather than a nightmare. This religious framework gave him a narrative that transcended the street code he had violated. In hip-hop culture, cooperating with law enforcement is considered the ultimate betrayal. Informants are ostracized, threatened, and sometimes killed. Hernandez faced all of these consequences, but refused to adopt a posture of shame that typically accompanies the snitch label. He viewed incarceration as a temporary setback, prioritizing family protection above all. He stated he'd cooperate with authorities again if it ensured their safety. This was not a man broken by the system. This was someone who had made a calculated decision and stood by it. The calculation was clear from the beginning. When he watched Lone Survivor on his first night, his immediate thought was about cooperation. The film, which depicts Navy SEALs facing impossible odds in Afghanistan, includes a controversial decision point where the team chooses not to kill civilians who discover them, ultimately leading to their ambush. The parallel was not lost on Hernandez. Choices have consequences. Survival requires adaptation. His approach to prison time reflected this pragmatism. He did not spend his days plotting revenge or maintaining gang affiliations. He spent them on the phone with loved ones, managing his commissary account and maintaining his sanity through routine. The absence of fear, he claimed, was not bravado. It was strategy. Fear makes people vulnerable in prison. It invites predators. By projecting confidence and faith, Hernandez created a psychological barrier that complemented the physical barriers of protective custody. His lawyer's statement that Hernandez did not request protective custody himself was significant in this context. It allowed him to claim he was not afraid, that he did not need special treatment, that the system moved him for its own reasons. Whether or not this was entirely accurate, the narrative served him well. It preserved some dignity in a situation designed to strip it away. In interviews, he emphasized this repeatedly. Never had no problems, thank God, he told Vlad TV, attributing his safety to divine intervention rather than federal protection. The religious framing was consistent throughout his public statements, but beneath the faith narrative was a harder truth. Hernandez understood power. He understood that his value to federal prosecutors was his willingness to testify. As long as he maintained that willingness, they had an interest in keeping him safe. His cooperation was transactional, and he leveraged it fully. The broader implications of his mindset extended beyond his personal survival. He challenged hip-hop's street code publicly, pointing out its hypocrisy. Cited artists like 21 Savage, Gunna, and T.I. for similar behaviors that were ignored when convenient. This was not defensive deflection. This was offensive strategy. By attacking the moral authority of those who condemned him, he weakened their attacks. In a 2025 Vlad TV interview, he reflected on early arrests hardening him, but focused on survival over regret. He spoke of being arrested at 17 for drug sales, of learning to navigate systems designed to crush young men like him. Prison was not new. It was an escalation of experiences he had already processed. His statement that he would do it again every single time if it meant family safety was his most radical position. It rejected the entire value system of street loyalty in favor of a different code. Family first, survival first, consequences be damned. This mindset transformation was evident in how he discussed his 2024 and current 2026 incarcerations. When he surrendered at MDC Brooklyn on January 6, 2026, he arrived in a luxury van with streamer Adin Ross and content creator Steve Will Dewitt live streaming the entire event. They sang Justin Bieber's Baby before his entry. This was not the behavior of someone traumatized by incarceration. This was someone who had made peace with it. Prior to surrender, he expressed confidence in interviews, downplaying past jail experiences as uneventful. He recorded a song titled First Day In with Ross and Cuffham, thematically addressing incarceration and dissing rivals. His spokesperson emphasized self-improvement goals, including physical training, health focus, and content planning. The resilience narrative he constructed served multiple purposes. It allowed him to maintain relevance in an industry that had largely turned against him. It gave him a story to sell to fans willing to support him despite his cooperation. And it protected his mental health by reframing trauma as triumph. But the narrative also contained truth. He had survived multiple incarcerations without serious physical harm. He had testified against violent gang members and lived to tell about it. He had violated every code of street loyalty and remained visible, vocal, and defiant. Whatever else could be said about Hernandez, he had proven capable of enduring consequences that would destroy most people. The reality of threats versus perception. The gap between perceived danger and actual harm in Hernandez's case reveals important truths about both the prison system and media narratives around high-profile inmates. The threats were documented and real. Intercepted communications showed gang leaders like Cafano Shoddy Jordan discussing super violating 6ix9ine after he distanced himself from the group. This fallout, including firing his crew publicly on social media, prompted FBI warnings and accelerated his arrest to avert harm. Federal prosecutors presented evidence of these threats during proceedings. Wiretaps captured conversations among gang members authorizing violence against Hernandez. The language was explicit. The intent was clear. The danger was not manufactured by paranoid lawyers or sensationalist media. It was substantive. Yet despite these credible threats, no actual attacks occurred during his initial 2018 incarceration. The swift transfer to protective custody prevented direct confrontations, but even before the transfer, while he was briefly in general population, no one harmed him. This disconnect between threat and execution reveals something about prison violence. It is not random. It requires opportunity, motivation, and often coordination. The federal system, when it chooses to, can effectively prevent violence through segregation and monitoring. Hernandez's lawyer questioned why he was placed in general population initially given the known threats, but the placement itself did not result in harm. The system corrected quickly, moving him before anything serious happened. In his current 2026 incarceration, the pattern continues. As of January 14, 2026, no threats, attacks, or confrontations involving Hernandez have been documented. He is 8 days into a 3-month sentence at MDC Brooklyn without any publicized problem. Given his history as a government cooperator, he is expected to be in protective custody, segregated from general population to minimize risks from gang-affiliated inmates. The MDC has a reputation for violence, with past inmate deaths and complaints, but Hernandez has not been linked to any incidents. He has even joked about his current situation. He humorously commented on sharing the facility with Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and Luigi Mangione, expressing eagerness to dance with Maduro, play cards, or share ramen with Mangione. This casual treatment of his incarceration suggests no immediate tension or fear. The contrast with external attacks is telling. In March 2023, Hernandez was assaulted at LA Fitness in Lake Worth Beach, Florida, leading to arrest of 3 men. In 2023, he was allegedly beaten by 2 producers in the Dominican Republic. These attacks occurred in public spaces, outside the controlled environment of federal custody. The prison system, for all its flaws, has successfully protected Hernandez from the violence he faces in the world. This is ironic. The streets are more dangerous for him than jail. The very place designed as punishment has become a refuge. Media coverage of his incarcerations has consistently emphasized danger and threat. Headlines screamed about death threats, dangerous placements, and the likelihood of violence. Articles described MDC Brooklyn as hell on earth and predicted Hernandez would face severe consequences for his cooperation. Yet the reality has been mundane. No shanking, no riots, no dramatic confrontations, just time served in segregated units with other cooperators, watching movies on iPads and talking on the phone. This does not mean the threats were not serious. It means the system works when it wants to. Federal authorities have invested in keeping Hernandez alive because his testimony secured convictions. They have the tools to protect high-value inmates. They simply choose not to use them for everyone. The perception of constant danger serves multiple narratives. For Hernandez, it allows him to claim bravery and resilience. For his critics, it suggests he is getting what he deserves. For the media, it generates clicks and engagement. But the truth is more boring than any of these stories. Prison for Hernandez has been isolation, routine, and boredom, punctuated by phone calls and commissary purchases. It has been bureaucratic rather than violent, administrative rather than chaotic. The hell of incarceration for him has not been physical danger, but psychological isolation and social exile. His snitch reputation has historically amplified perceived risks, but he claims it hasn't led to problems in custody. He critiques hip-hop's hypocrisy on loyalty, pointing out that many artists cooperate with law enforcement when it serves them. The gap between threat and harm in his case illuminates how prison violence is prevented when authorities care to prevent it. It also shows how celebrity status can be both a risk factor and a protective one. Hernandez is too visible to attack quietly. Any violence against him would draw scrutiny and investigation. The broader context and ongoing story. Hernandez's experience illuminates larger issues within the criminal justice system, hip-hop culture, and celebrity in America. The Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn has housed high-profile inmates like R. Kelly, Ghislaine Maxwell, and now Nicolas Maduro, with ongoing scrutiny for suicides, poor conditions, and violence. The facility has been described as understaffed, overcrowded, and plagued by maintenance issues including mold and maggots in food. Judges have occasionally refused placements or shortened sentences due to conditions at MDC. The Bureau of Prisons reports improvements from 2024-2025, including reduced violence, 87% staffing, over 700 maintenance fixes, and telehealth expansion. But the reputation remains dark. For Hernandez, the facility represents both punishment and protection. His segregation from general population means he avoids the worst conditions while still experiencing the psychological toll of confinement. The isolation is deliberate and necessary for his safety. His cooperation shortened his 2019 sentence to 2 years, partially served, but branded him a pariah in hip-hop. The cultural consequences have been severe. Former collaborators distanced themselves. Radio stations stopped playing his music. Fellow artists made him a punchline and a cautionary